Guys, welcome to today's devotional, and I want to show you something in my living room that I got on my baptism. It was a painting given by my parents, and I'll just show you it now. So there it is. Excuse the reflections, but if you can see it, there's a painting, um, and it's a very interesting painting, painted a couple of hundred years ago. But what it shows is um, the narrow road there and the broad road. And it's a really interesting painting because it has Bible verses going all the way up of different things mentioned about the way people live life. Um, and it really grasps the struggle between the broad road and the narrow road. And in particular, how easy and exciting the broad road looks, and how maybe boring and hard the narrow road looks. But in the end, there is more joy in the narrow road, and it leads to heaven. And in the end, there is destruction and despair on the broad road.
Are you on your narrow road or your broad road?
Looking at the picture downstairs reminded me of John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, and it's a brilliant book. We looked at it a little bit last year, and in the story, Christian is coming out of the city of destruction, and he's trying to go to the celestial city. And the picture downstairs reminded me of a particular part of the story when Christian has just come out of the Slough of Despond, and then he meets a particular guy called Worldly Wiseman. And I'll read you a little bit of the story. Christian, straining under the weight of his burden, immediately replied, "I know what I am seeking, freedom from my heavenly burden." "But why do you seek freedom in this way, seeing that it is dangerous?" said Worldly Wiseman. "If you had the patience to listen, I could direct you to what you are looking for without the dangers that you'll encounter by going this way. Yes, the remedy is here. Besides, I might add, instead of those dangers, you'll find abundant safety, friendship, and contentment." This sounded wonderful to Christian. "Sir, I beg you, please reveal this secret to me." "Well, a short distance from here, there is a village named Morality. In this village lives a man named Legality. This man has sound judgment and a very good reputation. He has skill in helping people like yourself get such burdens off their shoulders. Yes, to my knowledge, he has done a great deal of good this way. Why, he even has skill in curing those who are being driven to distraction because of their burdens. Like I say, you can go to him and be helped in the right way." And so Christian hears Worldly Wiseman, and he hears of this easier way to get rid of the burden on his back, the weight of his sin. And so he runs to this village of morality. And as he comes to the village, it doesn't look quite as good as he thought. It actually looks quite scary. And he sees fire coming down from heaven, and he gets scared. And so he runs away. And then he meets a guy called Evangelist. And he's met Evangelist before. But he tells Evangelist of all his problems and how he listened to Worldly Wiseman. And Evangelist says this, and I'll read you again. "You must take more seriously what I tell you," Evangelist said. "I will now show you who it was that deceived you, and to whom he was sending you. The man you met is called Worldly Wiseman. His name is appropriate, partly because he respects only the values and wisdom of this world, and therefore always goes to the church in the town of Morality. Also, he loves the wisdom of this world best, because it spares him from facing the cross. Also, because he is of carnal disposition, he seeks to pervert my ways, even though they are right." Now there are three things in this man's counsel you must utterly abhor. First, his turning you out of the way. Second, his effort to make the cross repulsive to you. And third, his setting your feet in the path that leads to death. First, you must abhor his turning you out of the way, yes, and your own contenting to it. For since it was rejecting the counsel of God for the sake of the counsel of worldly wise men, the Lord says, work hard to get in through the narrow gate, the gate to which I sent you. The gate to life is small, and the road is narrow, and only a few ever find it. See, the picture downstairs showed two roads. It showed the broad road, which heads to destruction, and it shows the narrow road, which heads to life. And Jesus talks about this in the book of Matthew in the Bible. And so it got me thinking, are we listening to worldly wise man's doctrine? Are we respecting the values and the philosophies and the wisdom of this world instead of the wisdom of the cross? How easy it is to get bogged down or caught up in all this world has to offer. And some of it sounds like great advice. Some of it sounds like it's making total sense, just like worldly wise man is making total sense. But just like Evangelist said, the problem with this world, the problem with the advice of this world is that it leads to death. And so do we try and find our own salvation in the town of morality? See, in the town of morality, there were great neighbours. They were all respectable. And perhaps we can do that in life too. We chase after the things that make us look respectable, which make us look good on the outside. But the problem is that too leads to death. The narrow way is difficult. The way Jesus calls us to follow him is tough. And we've been looking at last time in the book of Hebrews, running the race. And we're going to be looking at that in Daniel, when Daniel said, he's trying to live for God in a kind of pagan society, when he gets a new name and he gets told to eat different foods and he gets told to think and act in a certain way. But he sticks to what God says. We have to make sure that we resist anything that stands in the way of the cross. See, we can't just go with the flow with popular culture and popular religion. The narrow way is an unpopular one, but it's the way of the cross, and it's the only way that we get rid of the burden of sin at the cross, at the foot of the cross of Jesus Christ. See, when Christian approaches the cross in the story, his burden falls off his back. His burden actually got heavier when he went to the town of morality, but it completely falls off his back when he humbles himself and comes to the foot of the cross of Jesus. And we will see that in Daniel with Nebuchadnezzar in a couple of weeks, how God humbled him. And we need to be like that, humble before Jesus. Worldly wise man liked the advice. The worldly wise man liked the town of morality because it was easy, because it helped him forget the cross, because he didn't need the cross to live there, and it sounded great. And we can hear that in society at the moment, people that don't want to know God or would rather not know God because it's easier. Maybe you get the response of friends when you tell them about Jesus that sounds really hard, or that would totally change my life, or I like living my life the way I do, and following Jesus might change that. And Jesus is clear that the broad road is easy, but it's tough on the narrow road. And so I ask the question today, which road are you on? Are you on the broad road that is to destruction? Or are you following the narrow road which leads to life? If you're on the narrow road, then keep going at it. Keep running the race. It's hard, it's tough. And people on the broad road, just like in the picture, point and laugh. But it's worth it in the end, because we too can find the celestial city and be with Jesus.